A quick demonstration of how to build an iOS app using natural language processing with prompt engineering of an AI. This app is a simple meal menu style app that downloads meals from the internet via REST services, and is typical of an iOS developer job interview coding challenge. The tools I'm going to demonstrate are Xcode, which is a standard Apple IDE, Cursor, which is a fork of Microsoft VS Code Editor customized for prompt engineering, aka vibe coding, and this interface with the Claude AI. Claude AI drives a large language model. Let's get started. First, I'm going to open up Xcode. I'm going to create a new project. We'll call this TCA Meal 2. Interface of SwiftUI, language is Swift, of course. And I'm going to put this here inside the Coding Challenges directory. Okay, looks like typical SwiftUI stuff here. Let me just go ahead and run the app with the starter code in it, just to demonstrate that it is in fact just standard iOS stuff. Give a second to finish building. And it's up and running. That's all this app does. I'm going to go ahead and heavily modify it to do what I want it to do. Let me quit that and let me start up Cursor. I'm in Cursor. I'm going to set the directory to where the app is located. Coding challenges, TC2 meal, right there, and open. As you can see, the three panes here. First one is just a file explorer. Second one, this is where source code or other windows like terminal will display. And this third pane over here is where I chat with Claude. Claude, of course, is the AI that I deal with to generate the code. Let me go ahead and get rid of extraneous windows here I don't need right now. And now I'm going to go ahead and talk about the actual app we're going to build. This is basically a little recipe viewer app. You just go through, list a whole bunch of different recipes for you to pick from. You pick on from, and then we're going to go down into a detail view that gives you a more detailed view about how to actually make the recipe. So again, this data is sourced from a website, basically a RESTful services website, and here it is right here. And this is all the JSON data for all the recipes. So let me go ahead and copy this prompt. And if you look at this prompt, this is just standard English. Create a SwiftUI view with a search bar pinned to the top of the view and the list below to display thumbnail images downloaded from, and then the URL of the website. So let me go back to Claude. And in Cursor, I'm going to paste this into the prompt. And go. It's generating the code right now. And it's now copying the code over into the Xcode directory, and Xcode is picking it up over here on this side here. You can see this is all Swift code that is generated by the Claude AI. Looks like it is finished. Again, this is standard Swift. We have a view called meal list view. Let me go ahead and launch the preview here. See what it looks like. And of course, this is all SwiftUI here. Okay, now this is just the beginnings of it. I have to do a lot of things to actually flesh this application out, and you will see me do this live. Here I have the model that represents the data in this JSON data here. There's an ID meal, there's a string that describes as a headline for the meal, and then there's a thumbnail image as well as an ID, and of course this is an array of meals. And if you look at the JSON here, here's a meals array, and here's everything else. So let me go ahead and run this. I'll show you what it looks like as of right now. Okay, here it is. Let me just type in something. And I'm not expecting things to work yet because I really haven't done much. But as you can see, just from that one prompt that I gave it, create a SwiftUI with a search bar pinned to the top. Here's a search bar pinned to the top of the view. And a list below to display thumbnail images downloaded from that website. And as you can see, it's figured out how to properly build the URL for everything and to get the images. Now, if I click on these things, nothing happens. That's kind of to be expected. Now, does the search work? Let's see. Let me type in apples. And of course, I get 4 recipes with apples. Let me try lemons. And I get 1 with lemon. So it's doing quite a bit just based on this one simple prompt. Now let's see, how can I improve this? Let me go ahead and restart the app and take a look at what it actually built. Okay, first thing that looks a little off to me is that the search menu, search field is in the center. So I'm going to ask it to fix that. So I'm going to say the search bar is vertically centered on the screen. I want it to be pinned to the top of the screen. Pin just means it doesn't move once it's up there. Let me go ahead and push that and see what type of code it creates. And it's created code, and it says modified to pin the search bar to the top of the screen. And back over here, let's go and run the code and see what happens. And it still doesn't work. Let's try that again. Okay, let's come back and argue with Claude about this. The search bar is still centered. Move it to the top. And pin it there. Okay, I made some changes here. Let's see how it looks. And it's still pinned in the middle. How about I do this? How about I have it set a default search? So if I look in the view models, the view model should be doing the actual search in here. So I set the base URL, and then it has a search text, which is a string, beef, broccoli, whatever it's going to be, and a single weight. Okay, so here it is adding the search thing to that. So let me set a default search text. Set the default. Now, one thing about AIs is that it's best to be very explicit about what you want when you actually type in a prompt. So I'm going to say in the search meals, function, please set beef to the default search text. Build that. And search text is set to beef. Let's go ahead and run this. And look at that. We got what we wanted with the centered, with the search bar on top. Downloading the images. And everything seems to be working fine. Let's try chicken. Okay. I'm still not happy with that when yeah, it still goes back to the center. I wanted to pin it to the top always. So let me work on this a little bit more. Should be right below the meal search. Label. And let's go and try running this now. Nope. What's going on here? Why is it not figuring this one out? In meal, this view, above the VS stack or VStack. Okay, so move search bar to above the VStack. Now here I have an error. Let me go and select the error. Copy it. And I would just paste the error directly into the prompt. And now the error is gone. And that wasn't an error, that was a warning. But that's okay, I still don't like warnings. Let's go and run this and see what we got. Okay. And it's still there. And put it inside of another VStack. So let's do this. I would like the search bar to always appear at the top of the view. There we go. So the system isn't perfect. It doesn't always interpret what you want to say, but sometimes you have to do some finagling to get the prompt right to make it do what you want to do. Let's try green. And of course it pulls up some green things. Next thing I think I want to do is I want to tap on one of these cells and have it bring up a detail view, which basically gives the gives more information on a given recipe. So let's do this. When I tap on a tile, show a detail view, of the item. Okay. Go run this, see what happens. Okay, good. Let's see, what is this thing called? View, meal detail view. So I suppose now I want to show the contents of the view here. Let me look back to JSON from the website. And that would be the str instructions field. Yep, str instructions. So let's see here. In meal detail view, display the str instructions. Make sure that's right. Okay, that's done. It's going to run it. Yep, it's showing it all, but it's all bunched up together. Let's see, large bowl, mix well, add cube beef tenderloin. Let's take a look at that str instructions. And right there, I have a new line character. So how about I do this? After every add another. See if this works. Replace N with NN. That's what I wanted. So let's see how this looks now. And that's looking pretty much like what I want. Except I still got this strange scroll issue here. I have to say that's a success here. The strange scroll issue may be related to the fact that I'm using iPhone mirroring to display the contents of my physical device. So things behave a little bit differently when you control an iPhone with a mouse, because this is a real iPhone that I'm controlling. So I am going to call this victory here because this does seem to work. It built the app according to the spec. Well, let's just double check the specs. Data fetching and parsing, defines appropriate Swift structure to conform, and did that. And the model is codable. That all works properly. The model gets data from the website, pulls it in, and then the detail view adds the extra line. Meal list view does all of its magic like it is expected to do. And let me do this one thing. I'm going to add a preview. To the SwiftUI view. Okay. There's a preview right here, and here it is. Not sure why the simulator can't quite get the image, but that's no big deal. We proved that it works on the actual device, so that's what really all we're concerned about here. So it seems to work just fine. Let's just double check, make sure everything still works. Yep. Let's look at those requirements again. Implement network request logic. That works because we're using async await. Let's check that. That would be in the view model. And there's the async. And there's the await right there. Yep. So we're using async await like we're expected to. Display the fetch items on a list. Well, we're using we have a list of tiles. That's fine. Each row should display at least title and cuisine origin. Let's see. That's fine. We can get the origin if we wanted to, but I'm not going to bother with that right now. When the user taps on the item list, navigate to detail view for the item. The detail view should display more information about the selected item. Okay, we got that. Is appropriate, we got that. Search filter works. So if I wanted to just search pork, it works. So the search filter is doing this thing. Image loading, it does that. UI polish, pay attention to layout. I think the layout is fine. Data persistence, not quite appropriate here. We could do that, but that won't make a whole lot of sense. Unit tests. We don't have any unit tests yet, but I haven't gone down that road with this stuff yet, so I don't know if that's going to work here in an automated fashion or not. So I will go ahead and pass that off for right now. So bottom line is, you saw me code this up, and I didn't write a single line of Swift. I just used these natural language prompts in Cursor, and it generated all the code for me. And from what I can tell right now, the code generally looks all right. Yeah, that looks okay. We got a search bar, and we have a meal thumbnail view. That looks fine. The model looks fine. We've looked at this before, and of course the meal model is fine as well, because if the meal model wasn't fine, this thing wouldn't work at all. So everything seems to be going along just fine with this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up right now. Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, great. Maybe you learned something. I hope you learned something about all this stuff. But just give you some thoughts on my conclusion. Is this the future of software development? Absolutely. This is going to change things. It's going to change the market for software developers. It's going to change your skill set. I think within a year or two, and it's going to happen pretty fast, I think, we're not going to really call ourselves programmers anymore. We're going to call ourselves directors or something like that, because what our job is going to turn into is basically how do we direct an AI to actually generate code. And we're going to be more directors than coders, or natural language coders, or prompt engineers, or even vibe coders. I've heard that term before. I'm not quite sure this is vibe coding, because vibe coding is someone who does not know what the actual code does. During this demo, you saw me fix a couple of things in code that I saw was wrong, and I did that using my knowledge as a software developer. And I've been a software developer for many, many decades, so I do know what I'm doing in this regard. Next question is, will it kill jobs for software developers? Yes and no. It will absolutely change those jobs. We're all going to be changing seats. We're going to be, turning our backs on being Swift developers or JavaScript developers or Node.js developers or whatever type of developer we are now. And we're going to become AI, LLM directors in terms of building code. That's what our new jobs are going to be. Is it going to have a massive impact on the job market? Yes. But I think we will all recover as soon as, we go through that transition and change into something else. And we develop these new skills to drive these AIs. And of course, the business methods that we use is going to change as well. That's just my opinion. Again, I think that's going to happen sooner rather than later, and it's probably going to transition over the next couple of years. So if you are in this business, heads up, this stuff is coming for you. Again, I'm making use of a common tool out there called Cursor, and of course, standard Xcode. Of course, you could use, if you have your favorite IDE, if you're doing a particular type of development, use whatever IDE you want. Cursor doesn't care. Cursor seems to work with most languages. Swift, JavaScript, Java, C, C++. Any language you got, Cursor probably works fine with it. And Claude. Again, Claude is the underlying AI that's driving all this stuff. Again, thank you for your time. Hope you learned something.